Welcome in. We are back for a special edition of the Drunk on Ice pod. We got two special guests here tonight. We got our friend Mike from the Belly Up Network, and we had to bring it. We had to go out of the U.S., out of the country, and bring in somebody who I'm sure hockey hits home for more than any of us, from the Buds All Day podcast. Matt, welcome in here.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Well, I don't know if you guys are keeping up with the Leafs right now, but I've been better. We'll just put it that way. I'm sure you guys can relate as well.
Hey, listen, it could be worse. You could be rooting for the Flyers.
That's true.
Right? Listen, if you're looking for sympathy, you're coming to the wrong place.
Not going to get it here.
Hey, you guys have won playoff rounds in color though, so
it's fair.
Fair enough. Listen, but when you're talking about the likes of the guys that are on the roster that you have, when you're talking about guys like Austin Matthews, when you get to watch guys like that every night, and you're watching, and then we're turning on and we're watching what is left of Claude Giroux, what is left of the expiring contracts that were brought in. I'm super jealous.
Yeah, I can understand that. I was actually like fairly surprised when I was going on the Flyers cap friendly page just to kind of see like what trades could be made between them and the Leafs, and I was getting a little sad for you guys looking at the roster, but because I saw like Couturier's on LTIR, I didn't realize that. So you're missing some of your best players right now, and it's kind of showing.
Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it was really just a shitstorm from the beginning when you have Ryan Ellis for like, 5 games? Right. I mean, the blue line has never looked the way it was intended to look. So just from jump, it was really just kind of a giant mess.
I mean, listen, we're kind of in that spot now where, like, when I went through, it was surprising to me to go through and actually look at the standings and look at the teams and say that, like, there's only one team that has less wins than the Flyers right now. And that's a sad state. And listen, the only team that has less wins than you right now is an expansion franchise, that's a sad state for a proud franchise.
Yeah, that's not exactly the best place to be, but if you guys were talking about Austin Matthews, that's the best way to get an Austin Matthews. So if you're not making the playoffs, you might as well just throw in the towel and ride that tank all the way to glory.
Listen, but we've been down that road before, Mike.
Yeah, we certainly have. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where they drafted Nolan Patrick 2nd overall, right? Or even going back to what year was it? 07, 08, when you lose the lottery and you have to pick JVR instead of Patrick Kane. So it's
that's
rough.
Tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
hey, I love JVR though.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he put up 37 goals last year with the Leafs, and he's been reaping the benefits ever since.
Oh God! Well, listen, like we can jump kind of right into there's when I say that there's not much to recap from the Flyers. When we talk about the fact that in the calendar year of 2022, you can count their wins on one hand.
Yeah, listen, I'll tell you what though, they tried like hell to win 3 in a row.
They really did.
They tried. I mean, you go down 4-0 to the Panthers. What was that, yesterday?
Yeah.
And then they fought their way back. But they have no business being in a game with the Panthers. They're one of the best in the league.
No.
So I mean, the fact that I guess you saw a little bit of heart from them, and they're just not good. Like, let's just call it what it is. I mean, what else do you say? I mean, I think I can speak on for every Flyers fan. We just can't wait for the season to be over. I just want to watch playoff hockey at this point. Like, for anybody, I just want to watch good hockey.
Right. Yeah, and
I've been in that boat too many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know. Listen, the insight that I got from watching the Amazon behind the scenes show from the Leafs from last year gave me a lot of there was a lot of common feelings that I was feeling in terms of like that being able to get to the playoffs but not being able to kind of push through to that next round. Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, first of all, I'll tell you that I actually haven't watched the Amazon series yet because it was I still haven't gotten over that loss. I told myself that maybe I'll watch it before the playoffs start this year because I knew the second that I'd watch it, it would just rev me up and I'd want to see them like avenge that. So right. I'm hoping to watch that in late April, depending on how I'm feeling about the Leafs' chances in round one. But yeah, it's been tough. And last year, like the first year they lost in the playoffs, whatever, it was to Washington. They were underdogs. Like first 2 or 3 rounds, Boston in there too. That wasn't too bad. But last year, to lose to that Montreal team that was like clearly a touch below the Leafs. John Tavares going out in the first game. It just as a Leaf fan, it just seems like everything that can go wrong does go wrong at the worst possible time. And I know it's hard to say that when you have Austin Matthews on your team, but since the day they've drafted Austin Matthews, pretty much like everything luck-wise has kind of gone against them where like they signed those big contracts, him and Marner, right before the pandemic, knocks down the prices of players. They lose Tavares to injury. They lose Muzzin the year before. So it's a tough road, but you just got to keep believing. That's what I tell myself every day. That's why I still do this podcast.
I like it.
And listen, they're not. I know you know. I was listening to your last episode talk about like the GM is not one that's really shy for going out and making moves.
No, he's made moves. I was actually a really big supporter of him before he even came to the Leafs. About in 2014, he came to the Leafs as an assistant, and I like followed him through the OHL. Thought he was a really good GM, and he's made a lot of really good moves on the fringes, kind of. But last year at the trade deadline, you're probably referring to that Foligno deal where he gave up a first rounder, and he just had egg all over his face. And our podcast was a big actually detractor of that deal. We hated it from day one because we're all aboard the skill wagon, which is what we thought Kyle Dubas was. He kind of changed course last year to go and pay a big price for that kind of grit and intensity type guy in Foligno, and it really backfired. So I'm curious to see what they do at the deadline this year, if they kind of follow that toughness mentality again, or if they do go for that bit of skill and maybe some skill on the Flyers even.
Well, and listen, that was something that we'll dive deep into later. But for me, if I'm the Flyers, right, all the cards are on the table because you've got a ton of expiring contracts. You've got guys that they brought in. The whole thing that we've talked about. If we go back to our episode 1. Like you talk about the guys that they brought in a lot of guys who were letter on the sweater guys, right? They were guys that were captains, assistant captains, guys that we thought were going to be leaders. And I think they kind of put all their eggs in that basket, not realizing that the talent level was just never there.
Yeah, it really. I mean, it's the same thing though. Like the high end talent, we always talk about it. I mean, out of I guess the off season stuff. I mean, the good news, Cam Atkinson has been playing his ass off. He's kind of
Right.
one of the only bright spots. Ristolainen, I think Ristolainen's been fine for what he's supposed to be. We'll just go into the Ristolainen thing because obviously they
Sure.
signed him to the 5 year,
Yeah.
5.1 million per.
Right.
And I know the Flyers get absolutely shit on for this deal. And is it a lot for Ristolainen? Absolutely, it's definitely a lot for Ristolainen. But I think Ristolainen can be a useful player, not for $5 million per year. But not only the price that I have a problem with is where this team is right now. Their direction should not be trying they should be trading their pending UFAs. Right, they should have looked. Maybe you can't get the first round pick that you gave up to get Ristolainen. Maybe you can't recoup that back. Get whatever you can for him because I don't know what value he really holds long term on this team.
No, I mean, listen, Mike, you and I kind of are on the same boat. Like the deal to me, I think it was a way for them to save face, considering what they gave up.
Yeah. I will say this though. I know a lot of people are comparing it to the Andrew McDonald contract from what was that 2014, something like
14,
that.
right.
It's not anywhere near that bad. Like the salary cap's about $15 million more now than it was then, and that was
Okay.
about $5 million per. So I mean, inflation maybe it's a $3 to $3.5 million deal. You know, if you scale it back or whatever. So I don't think it's quite as bad as Andrew McDonald. But in a few years, this has a chance to be really ugly if Ristolainen doesn't get better. Now, I mean, I guess it's hard to say he's going to get better because he's, 26, 27 years old. He's kind of what
Right.
he is at this point. But it's a matter of who else goes. I mean, I know there's been a lot of chatter about Provorov and Sanheim recently. So I don't know what they're going to do. Just the direction of the team, I'm not sure what the direction is, I guess.
That's actually what I kind of wanted to ask you guys, given that they did sign Risto to that deal. Do you think that they're trying to do a quick, on-the-fly retool type thing, or are they, looking at taking another down year next year and rebuilding a little bit?
Well, they had a state of the franchise press conference a couple months ago and used the term aggressive retool. So that's kind of what they're going to try to do. As a Flyers fan, that scares the shit out of me because we've seen that happen in the past and it completely backfires. The days of Paul Holmgren being the GM and trying to get Shea Weber to an insane offer sheet, and that would have been fun and everything, but it can put you in cap hell. I mean, we saw them sign Kevin Hayes to a contract that he really isn't. That's not who he is. He shouldn't be going for that much money. So the term aggressive retool scares me because they're gonna just try to put band-aids on it, and it's just we're gonna be in the same spot next year.
That I mean, Mikey, that's my concern, right? They essentially try to, instead of actually acknowledging what the problem is, this franchise is consistently trying to get back to that era when they were successful. Meanwhile, that era is before any of us were born. And they're not willing to accept the fact that in order to be successful in this league, you need to have your top end guys. You need to have the Austin Matthews. You need to have the you name it, right? Those top end guys, that top end talent are guys that you need in order to be successful. The guys that are going to stretch the ice, the guys that are going to be the Draisaitl's that are going to go from end to end. It's just so frustrating because I can see where they're going, and where they're going is going to get us right back in the same exact spot that we're in right now.
Yeah, and you almost have to start pointing the finger at Chuck Fletcher to a degree, though, only because I'm not sure he's the one making the decisions. Above him, I mean, you have Paul Holmgren and you have Bobby Clark, guys that have been here for decades and decades and decades, and they're not changing their way of thinking. And then even above them, you have Dave Scott, who's the CEO of Comcast Spectacor, who is just a non-hockey business guy who has way too much input on this team.
Yeah, it's pretty sad when the mascot is the most notable thing that is
Yeah.
recognized by this franchise.
Yeah.
It's probably the number one thing I think of after probably Carter Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that, like, yeah, I saw that in your latest Flyers trade proposal that you're throwing out there, Carter Hart was included. You kind of threw Carter Hart in that deal.
Oh yeah, and the funny thing is that Leaf fans thought that was a bad deal, and I've been going off the wall with my proposals to try to find a goalie for the Leafs, and I think Carter Hart's a stud. So you got something really good there, and he's a young, good guy to build around. So I think if you make a good point about the top end talent. I think Philly's problem right now is they have too many guys in that like middle range of like $5 to $7 million where. Sure, the first year or two of that deal might be good, but like a Kevin Hayes, a JVR, even Cam Atkinson, he's good right now, but he's 32. Like those guys, those deals don't usually tend to age well. We're even seeing it with a bigger name in John Tavares in Toronto. He's kind of falling off on his own right. And it's just those kind of deals are absolute killers. And that's why like I see something like the Risto deal and I'm just like, oh man, I don't know about that.
Well, listen. On that note, I think we've exhausted our conversation on the Flyers. Let's just go.
Yeah.
Let's just go around the league. What give us your perspective on the league from the Leafs' point of view.
Well, right now, like you guys probably all know, the Atlantic Division is an absolute terror. It's got 3 of the top 5 teams in terms of point percentage with Tampa, Toronto, and Florida in there. So it's going to be an absolute bloodbath in the playoffs. I'm still super impressed by Colorado. Like you can go all around the league. There's so many interesting talking points. I know you were in the notes here. You asked me to talk a little bit or like just kind of look at. We were going to talk about like points leaders, things like that. And if I'm going to do that, I got to toot the horn of Austin Matthews, who's 6 goals ahead of Draisaitl in second. So I don't know where you guys want to take it with the NHL conversation.
I mean, you bring up Matthews. What we're seeing from Matthews this year, and even throughout the literally last couple years, is stupid. Like just the amount of goals he's putting up. I mean, we're seeing the best goal scoring season really of the last however many years you want to say, but what he's doing is insane.
It literally, and I think you had mentioned the fact that like the goals in relationship to the games that he's playing, right? That ratio of goals to games played is incredible, and to see the pace that he's on. I mean, to watch him go end to end, it's beyond impressive.
Yeah, it's insane. With his goal last night, he's up to 37 goals in his last 38 games. So he's almost been scoring a goal a game for like 3 months now. And I think the most underrated part outside of Toronto is his defense. Like he's dominating on both ends of the ice. Like his ability to just win battles below the goal line and get the puck up and out quickly has just been tremendous this year. That line with him, Michael Bunting and Mitch Marner, they're always among the leaders in expected goals. So it's just like his goal scoring has always been there. He got 40 in his rookie year and he's just lit the lamp like every game. But when he came in, he was a little bit weak defensively, but just every year to just watch the growth of this guy has just been, it's insane. And even though we are having these playoff chokes year after year, like a lot of Leaf fans have to remind themselves to actually enjoy having a guy on this on our team, because he's undoubtedly the most talented Leaf we've ever had. And who knows if I'll ever see someone this good in my lifetime again.
Yeah, you did just bring him up, Michael Bunting. What did this guy just come out of nowhere, or like has he been like a top prospect for you guys? Like it seems like it's kind of wild. He just came out of nowhere and is producing it. Like he's probably a finalist for the Calder at this point.
Yeah, so he was on Phoenix or Arizona last year. He had 10 goals in I think 21 games, and we actually on our podcast little hat tip to us had him as one of our top free agency targets, because a lot of people thought he might take a discount as a hometown Toronto boy. And sure enough, he did. And we were hoping they would try him off on the top 6 to start the year, but they actually started him on the 4th line. He looked really good there. And then Nick Ritchie, who was just a complete disappointment for the Leafs, played terribly. So Bunting got that shot, and he has not looked back. It's crazy. He's one of those old like Panarin, Kaprizov. Like we're getting a lot of old guys in the running for the Calder. Like personally for me, I'd probably give it to Seider. I just think what he's doing at his age is absolutely insane. But
Yep.
yeah, what Bunting's providing, the most important thing for Leaf fans is that he's only making $900,000. Like it's the exact kind of value you need when you're capped out like they are.
Well, now listen, you also get a front row seat for Edmonton. To see McDavid and Draisaitl together. The thing that blows me away is that the drop off from those two to everybody else on their roster.
Yeah, it's like last year in that North Division, it was just like it was a tire fire a lot of the time with those other teams. Like the Leafs, obviously they choked in the playoffs, but the one team we didn't want to see was Montreal because they were like the kind of style that could stop the Leafs, whereas Edmonton is basically just a way worse version of the Leafs. They have that high-end talent that the Leafs have, but they just have none of the depth to support it. And then you look, I think going into this offseason, they had about $33 million in cap space, and Ken Holland just took a stick of dynamite and blew it all up and just wasted it on like former Leaf Zach Hyman, who we love him, but we replaced him with someone better for $1 million in Michael Bunting. And like the Duncan Keith move, like not finding a goalie, just watching some of these GMs. It's like, I would take Chuck Fletcher over Ken Holland any day of the week, because what they have done with the combination of McDavid, Draisaitl, and cap space has been nothing short of like an atrocity.
Yeah, goaltending's the biggest issue, right? I mean, they came in with Mike Smith, who, what's he, 40 years old? I mean, yeah, he was good. He was good, borderline great last year, but you can't rely on that every night. You just can't. And then the Mikko Koskinen deal, I mean, what did they give him? 3 years, 3 or 4 per? I mean, it's a bad deal.
Listen. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, they're finally getting out of that deal, I think, at the end of this year, but
Yep.
the Lord knows they'll spend it on somebody else terrible.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Welcome to our world.
Yeah. Hey, Martin Jones is available. Take him.
Yeah, listen.
I'm not going to lie. Sorry to interrupt. I actually looked up his save percentage just to double check and see if maybe the Leafs could get him. But yeah, no.
Martin Jones, hey, I'll tell you what, he's been better than I think we expected. Like, the defense he's playing behind is not a good one. He's been fine.
It's so bad,
yeah.
Right? And that's part of what contributes. Like that's part of what I feel like negatively contributes to Carter Hart, right? Because you've got, the other night when he plays Vegas and he's got 47 out of 48 saves, and is literally standing on his head. But then the next game against the Panthers, right, the defense is suspect. He ends up giving up 4 goals in the first period. Just like that inconsistency on defense, it makes it so hard to then rely on him to stand on his head night in and night out. When he's on, it's amazing to watch.
I can't believe he has a .912 save percentage. I mean, behind this defense, it's insane.
Like that is even like that to me is a more wild statistic than anything, considering what we know, Mike, we see on a night in and night out basis.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it earlier. That Ellis injury was really bad for them, because he's like, that was actually, I thought I would have paid way more for him than I would have paid for Ristolainen, like in terms of a trade in the offseason. And to lose him, that's got to kill the defense. And we see it like, I feel like it's a lot of teams in the league are struggling with defense this year. I think goals are up. It's just, it seems like even all of the contending teams right now, like every single one of them is looking for a top 4 defenseman.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, the Flyers have one available, and that's Justin Braun. I mean, maybe this is a hot take. Am I insane to think Justin Braun could fetch him at least a second round pick? Like, am I insane for saying that? I mean, he's productive. You look at last year, David Savard got a first and a third. You look back at the days where they traded Kimo Timonen, and now granted that was many years ago. They got 2 seconds for that, when Justin Braun's a lot more productive now than Kimo Timonen was then. I think they could get at least a second round pick for Justin Braun.
I'll be honest, if it was $250 on deadline day and the Leafs hadn't made an addition and I found out that they got Justin Braun for a second, I'd be totally fine with it. Like, he's the exact kind of guy that we wouldn't mind having there. I know he's 35, so he's a little long in the tooth, but he's playing 20 minutes a night. I don't know how into advanced stats you are, but he's in like the top 11 percentile defensively as a defenseman. So he's the exact kind of guy. Right-handed shot too. Those are pretty rare. Like if I'm Philly, I'm at least looking to get a minimum of a third. But yeah, you're trying to stretch that into a second, I think.
Yeah, Mike, I don't think you're off in saying that that's something that's out of the realm of possibilities to be able to get. Talk about Jack Campbell, because Jack Campbell kind of he kind of snuck in and took Fred Anderson's job in last season.
He's had
but
the
now
weirdest
is kind
career.
of showing kind of inconsistencies.
So yeah, he's had a really up and down year. He first 2 months of the year looked like a Vezina candidate, led the league in save percentage. He was like, it was no fluke. Like he was phenomenal every night, stopping so many big saves. It was incredible. And then it all started a lot of Leaf fans have a conspiracy theory that he got ran over by Marcus Foligno one game in December, and he hasn't been the same. And then yesterday, he went out with they put him on injured reserve for a couple weeks with a rib injury, and they said that it wasn't a new injury; it was something that reacted. So that started the old tinfoil hat conspiracies going again. That maybe that's what has been holding them back. And to be honest, that's what a lot of Leaf fans are hoping, that it is kind of a legitimate injury. So there's an excuse for it because, yeah, you said it last year. He played really well. He had like a .922 save percentage. Looked fine in the playoffs. Had a pretty questionable goal in Game 7, but that's probably more to do with the logo on his sweater than anything. So he did good last year, good start to this year, and then all of a sudden it's been like a slow decline to where now both him and Mrazek, they can't stop a beach ball. It's just every night you're pretty much writing in 4 goals for the other team. It's just a matter of whether the Leafs can score 5 or more, and it's so frustrating. Like we you don't want to get too mad at him because he's the most likable guy ever. But at the same time, you're like, okay, we need some kind of upgrade here.
What do Leaf fans think of Mrazek? Because we saw him here for a very short time, and it was not pretty. And then he goes to Carolina and is great there, obviously behind a very, very, very good defense. Then he goes to Toronto where there's obviously holes on the defense, and now he can't stop a beach ball, like you said. I mean, do you think that was a good signing or
horrendous?
Okay,
I'll admit at the time, I didn't think it was bad. I knew we needed somebody who could be like a tandem goalie with Campbell. And he had good numbers last year. He had, like you said, decent numbers in Carolina. But yeah, I was looking through his stat profile today. I saw like his worst year by far was with you guys in Philly. So I feel like we have something he's been exactly that this year. And last night, he got pulled early into the second period after giving up 4 goals. And like the first goal of the game was a routine shot, and he blockered it, punched it right to the other team for an open net. And it's just like both goalies right now are undoubtedly in their head, but I think with Campbell, there's a lot more hope that he can actually get out of it once he does get out of his head and maybe recovers from injury. Mrazek, I think, is more of a lost cause just because since Game 1, he's just swimming. Like he is miles out of his crease. There'll be 2-on-1s and he'll be like halfway to the corner. So I don't have much hope for him. I'm honestly hoping that the Leafs can find a way to get a team to take him on in a deal. Like they're gonna have to pay at least a second rounder to do it because he's getting $3.8 million for another 2 years. So it's dire straits in the Leafs net right now. Dubas has a lot of pressure on him to find a solution there.
And Keith threw him right under the bus, Mrazek, last night. He wanted to pull him after the second one. I was like, wow.
Yeah, we had a rookie a guy who's never played an NHL game was his backup. That was the only reason he didn't. And then the rookie Shalgren came in and he played pretty well. So Leaf fans wanted him to start the outdoor game on Sunday. But
that's what I was going to ask you.
It looks like they're going back to Mrazek, Keith said. So.
How long is Campbell out for?
2 weeks. So it's
right?
It's gonna go beyond the deadline. So Dubas has to do something, whether it's adding a third goalie. I'd personally like to add somebody who can threaten Campbell, like a Holtby, James Reimer, Marc-Andre Fleury, like Anton Forsberg, one of these guys that's actually having a decent year, because I have no faith. If Mrazek, I'll just tell you guys, if Mrazek starts a playoff game, throw all your money on the other team immediately.
I love it.
Hopefully you're not in that position.
Oh my God. So yeah, let's slide into looking at, like, if you had to group the top 5, who's at 5 for you?
For me right now, it's got to be Calgary. I mean, the Leafs have the 5th best record in the league, but with the way their goaltending is right now, I can't take them seriously enough to put them in the top 5. They have top 5 roster, but not top 5 in terms of right now. So Calgary, they're just a playoff style team to me too. Really good defensively, good goaltending. So I think I really like Calgary. What do you guys think of them?
Yeah, I mean they've been really good. I mean goaltending's been huge for them. I mean Markstrom, he still leads the league in shutouts, I believe. Right, I haven't looked in a while, but he's been crazy. Markstrom, and it's a shit. I mean he's probably not even going to win the Vezina though. I mean because what Shesterkin's doing is insane.
Oh, he's running away with it.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy.
Honestly, Shesterkin's probably a finalist for the Hart at this point. Like he's one of them.
It's him and Matthews right now, I think.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then I guess a third could either be Huberdeau or you got your McDavid's, but it's probably those two right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, what Calgary's doing is impressive, right? You've got them sitting with 77 points. The way that they have, you can't say enough about the goalie play that they're getting. I really feel like they are like you wouldn't be wrong in putting them in your top 5.
Yeah, and I just think if we're looking to like teams that can threaten for a cup, they have to be right up there because they play the style that wins in the playoffs. They have tough, angry defensemen. They have good goaltending. They play like a very aggressive hitting style. So, and Johnny Gaudreau, like he's you talk about MVP candidates, he's got to be a kind of a fringe guy too.
Yeah, he's probably having his best season, honestly.
I think he's 6th in scoring right now.
Yeah, 77 points in 57 games.
Listen, he's a guy that Flyers fans have been trying to bring home since he's been in the NHL.
Yep.
Didn't spend that money on Risto. Maybe you get him in free agency this year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Listen, I'll tell you what. I actually prefer over Johnny Hockey. I prefer Kadri, Nazem Kadri, the guy that you guys let up. I would prefer him over Johnny Gaudreau. That's my dream scenario is to get Nazem Kadri here.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Kadri. He's so passionate. He obviously has a problem with playoff suspensions, but I would be a little weary of paying a guy who's having like a well over a point a game season when he's never really come close to that in his life. I'd be a little bit scared. I'm half hoping Montreal signs him because they were rumored to be in on free agents. Ooh, okay. So I'm hoping Montreal signs him, overpays him, and he just falls off a cliff. But that's just my greedy.
I don't have to worry about the postseason suspensions because as a Flyers fan, we don't see that all that often.
You just want to get there.
I just want to get there. Yeah, whatever happens there, that's fine.
Oh God, I can't. All right. Who do you have it for? So next,
I got Florida. I know it's. Okay. I know it might be a hot take putting Tampa over them, given that they're ahead of them in points. But similar to the Leafs, I don't trust Bobrovsky. He started off really good this year, but he's like they're right down there with the Leafs in terms of recent save percentage. Okay. So I think that's who I'm kind of hoping the Leafs face off in round 1 because I think it'll just be like a fireworks series between two teams that are kind of very similarly built.
Yeah, I mean Florida can score with anybody. I mean that's no secret. Yeah.
That's the one thing for me that I look at and I say, like, if there's anything that's going to keep Florida in a game, they're just going to be able to score. The way that, Huberdeau, when he's able to the way that he's able to facilitate, they can put up points and they can put them up fast. What about a team like the Rangers?
I don't buy them outside of Shesterkin, to be honest. All of their advanced metrics are pretty terrible. They're like 25th in the league in most categories or below. But at the same time, you look at Carey Price last year, he dragged the Habs all the way to the finals. Shesterkin's capable of that. But I would be a little bit worried about him burning out as the playoffs go on since he's only playing like 2/3 of the games right now.
Yeah, those Rangers are very reminiscent of the mid-2000 Rangers where Lundqvist just carried them completely. Like, those teams had no business being anywhere near the top, but Lundqvist just carried them. You have production because you got your Panarins, you got your Zibanejads, but Shesterkin's keeping them afloat at this point.
I mean, the other thing to remember also with the playoffs, right, is the days off. Right, they're going to have time in between games. They're not going to play back-to-back. That, to me, them having Shesterkin in net also it gives them that chip to play when the guys in front of him may not be on their A game. He can stand on his head and maybe win them a game that they don't have any business winning.
Yeah, I'd say right now they're like if I had to pick 3 players in the league who could individually steal a series, it would have to be Shesterkin, Matthews, or McDavid. Like one of those 3 guys, if you get them in the right 7 games, like no matter what the other team does, they're not winning.
Yeah, I might put Markstrom up there too, just with the season he's having.
That's true.
But yeah, I hear you.
All right, who you got next?
I got the mighty Tampa Bay Lightning. They're a juggernaut. They don't stop. They have, in my opinion, even though Shesterkin's having the best year, I think they have the best goalie in the league in Vasilevsky. He's just insanely consistent. And then you got guys like Kucherov who just turn it up when the games matter most. So they're horrifying to me as a Leaf fan.
Yeah, I mean, they're always going to be there. And at this point, the regular season is meaningless to them. They just care about what happens in April, May, June. So, yeah, they're going to be there at the end.
When that is a team, when the lights are bright, those guys just they show up. I think, does it make you feel a certain way as a Leafs fan that 2 of the better teams in the NHL are in South Florida?
I mean, it doesn't bother me so much that they're in South Florida as it does that they're in our division. That we're going to have to, if we want to even make the 3rd round, we're going to have to beat 2 of the 4 best teams in the league. It sucks. But yeah, it's my parents actually just bought a trailer in Florida near Tampa.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm a little bit excited about that because now I'll actually go. I'm happy there's hockey there, so I can go watch it. Maybe if they're
catch
in the
a
playoffs
game
against the Leafs. Yeah. So it's a bit of mixed feelings, but I the only thing about Florida that annoys me is that we have this hard salary cap, and everybody knows the taxes are way higher in Canada, and these Florida teams don't have to pay any taxes, so they get to have players like Kucherov signed for less money because they're getting the same amount at the end of the day as someone like Marner who's getting paid more in salary cap money.
True story.
Right.
All right, at the top, who you got? Top 2.
Top 2, I got to go Carolina second. I can't put anybody over Colorado, but Carolina is extremely good. And again, back to the Leafs, it kind of hurts to see Freddie Anderson doing this after being an absolute sieve for his last year and a half as a Leaf. And the other thing is, I will say I won't believe in Freddie until I see him do it in the playoffs because I've seen this too many times where he looks good in the regular season and then in the biggest moments he becomes the smallest. But maybe in a small market he can handle it.
And the defense is a lot better in Carolina than it is in Toronto.
That's true. That is true. I got to admit it.
I mean, you see what we talked about earlier. You see what Mrazek did behind that Carolina defense. So,
I will say this though: the Leafs, outside of Toronto, they still have that reputation as a run and gun, no defense style hockey team. It actually hasn't been true for the last this year and last year. Their defense has been a lot better since they added TJ Brody. It hasn't been as good as last year this year, but the crazy thing is over this span where they've been giving up tons of goals since January 1st, they've actually been first in the league in terms of expected goals against. So they're I'm not saying they're the best defensive team by any means, but it's clearly, I think right now, more on the goalies themselves than it is the players in front of them. But they do give up a lot of rush.
And Muzzin's been hurt for a while, hasn't he?
He first, before he was even hurt, he was struggling out of the gate for the first 20 or so games. And then he got a concussion. He came back for a little while and then he just got another one. So he's probably going to be out for about a month or so. A lot of people want the Leafs to use him on LTIR and kind of pull the Tampa, go over the cap.
Yep.
But it looks like the Leafs are unfortunately too noble to do that. But yeah, a healthy Jake Muzzin, an actual fully functioning version of him would be the best trade deadline acquisition we could ever make.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. All right, here's your opportunity. Throw your bouquets at Colorado.
You have to. You said it about Kadri, and the crazy thing is he's probably their third best player at best.
I was gonna say, I'd
probably take Rantanen over him too.
Right, exactly. You got McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar. I'd probably put all 3 of those above him. I mean, Makar is just so fun to watch. That whole team. You know what? I'm tired of watching the Flyers. I'm gonna start watching Colorado. They're my second team. I rooted for them back in the late '90s. They were my second favorite team with Sakic, Forsberg, that whole clan. So I'm gonna jump on the Colorado bandwagon. I'm doing it.
Oh God, it's such a mind mess to try to pick a second team, but they are super fun to watch. And to kind of jump into the next thing we were going to talk about with the trade deadline, the Avalanche is one of the teams that has been kind of hot on Giroux, and Giroux's been a guy that they've talked about. They've wavered kind of back and forth whether or not they're going to move him or not.
Yeah, I'm not convinced it's going to happen with Colorado if he does get moved. And if they do, it'll be underwhelming because it seems like the Avalanche don't want to give up Alex Newhook, and they also don't have a first-round pick this year. So you're going to get probably back like a Tyson Jost, which doesn't really do a whole lot for me, to be honest.
Agreed.
But I don't know where else. I mean, Florida or Carolina are probably the two other ones. But one thing I will say is Claude Giroux is leaps and bounds the best trade deadline forward available, I would say.
Agreed.
I mean, who else is really out there? I mean, there's really
unless San Jose puts like Hurdle or or Philip Forsberg were available, but I don't see Forsberg being available. So I would have to put Giroux as like in terms of guys who are pretty likely to be traded. I would have him number one. Like if the Leafs weren't such a tire fire on defense and goalie, he would be my number one target.
Yeah, I mean, really, I feel like the two big guys available are Chychrun and Giroux. I feel like that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are out of the ones that I would say are really likely to get traded. So how likely do you guys think it is that Giroux goes somewhere else?
The closer it gets, the less I feel like is going to happen, especially with the Ristolainen deal. I thought they were just going to kind of ship all their UFAs off, and it doesn't seem like he wants to leave Giroux. I don't know. I mean, I know.
Does he have a no trade clause?
He does have a no trade clause. Yeah. So the ball's in his court. I know he is scheduled to play his 1,000th game as a Flyer on March 17th, I believe it is. And the deadline's like 3 or 4 days later. So my guess is if he does get traded, it's after that because I imagine that 1,000th game as a Flyer is important to him. So if it happens, it probably happens after that date.
I actually have kind of a throwback for that.
Go ahead.
It reminds me of Matt Sundin before, like, because he was I don't know if he was rumored to go to Philly. I remember back in that year, the Leafs had a bunch of guys with no trade clauses. I think it might have been Thomas Kaberle that was rumored to go to Philly way back in the day. But I remember that there was somebody on the Leafs who would not waive a no trade clause, and it would have gotten the Leafs Jeff Carter back. Okay. So those no trade clauses are always they're a tough spot for me.
Yeah, it's so tough. And Mike, what like the point that you brought up about the 1,000th game, not only I think is it important for Giroux, but I think it's also important on an organizational level.
Yep.
Right? Like I think they see value in those off the ice events. So that's something that they can sell merchandise for, sell tickets for, pump up on social media, all the stuff that means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, well, they are having a lot of trouble filling that arena. So yeah, ticket sales definitely are important to
them. Mike, listen, so Mike, you were down there for the Edmonton game.
I was.
What was the attendance like on that level?
I'll tell you what, the attendance was actually better than I expected, but that's probably because you have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and people want to see them. It's an event to go see them. So it was better than I expected, but any other game, I mean, the place is empty.
It's just so for me that it wouldn't be surprising for Giroux to move after that 1,000th game, like in that short window between that game and the deadline. I'm not holding my breath though. That's for damn sure.
I think as a fan, I would probably want him to play that game as a Flyer too. I know it doesn't mean anything, but it would be kind of cool to see him get the stick and all of that stuff in a Flyer jersey. But I think like what I learned from that whole Sundin Kaberle experience in 2008 is move on. Like because you're not like, I don't see why they couldn't trade him, give him a chance at a cup run, and then try to re-sign him in the offseason.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing, but that's happened so few times. Like I could count maybe 3 or 4 times it's like ever happened. Like it just doesn't happen often where
Yeah,
you
they
trade
always
a guy
say
and
it's
he comes
gonna.
back. Right, exactly. So it's sounds good and all, but I guess it depends on how much he loves the area, why he'd want to. Why he loves Philadelphia is a little weird to me, but there's a bunch of other places I'd rather live, especially if I'm a millionaire. You know what I mean? But I just again,
It's always sunny there, though, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. There you go. I like the reference.
I love it.
But no, I'm just looking at the trade deadline like lists of players, and you got Giroux and I mean maybe Rickard Raquel if Anaheim wants to go that route. Jake
Right.
DeBrusque, but I mean it falls off quick. I feel like after Giroux for forwards.
It's not a list that's laden with like a ton of like top end talent.
Maybe Brock Besser if Vancouver wants to go that way. I would say don't do that if I'm Vancouver, but what do I know?
Yeah, JT Miller used to be on the market too, but with the way they're winning, they might just hold on to him because he's got another year anyways. But Vancouver might be a kind of team too where I would say like if JT Miller can get them a crazy haul, they should probably move on because it's not like they're going to do anything in the playoffs. But yeah, I'm looking at the TSN trade board right now.
I'm on the same one. Yep.
It's not a crazy group of guys available. You got like there's always those under the radar moves that you don't see coming, like Anthony Mantha last year. Like those kind of moves will happen.
Okay.
But
sure.
out of like obvious guys, I don't see it. And a guy on the Flyers that I honestly would really, really love to steal from you guys is Travis Sanheim. I think because I saw Darren Dreger said after the Risto extension that it was possible that they like. I don't think he had a source. I think it might have been more opinion that they might move on from Sanheim.
Yeah, I heard similar things from Elliot Friedman about one of the two of Provorov or Sanheim potentially being available. Yeah, I mean, if you want Sanheim, take him. Sanheim is incredibly frustrating. He can move the puck really well, but anytime he's along the boards, he'll get beat 9 times out of 10. He's very soft in that manner. The only time I saw him go after anybody or grab anybody is when he went up against 5'7" Alex DeBrincat a couple weeks ago. So
And what's
that's
he,
about
6'5"?
Sanheim about that, yeah. So
It sounds like he'd fit right in on the Leafs, to be honest.
right, exactly.
What if you had a dream scenario for the Leafs? What's your dream trade deadline realistic scenario of a guy that they could acquire?
Convince Carey Price to come play and get traded to the Leafs, probably.
No, $10 million. We cannot afford
That's
that
true.
at all. I have a low key. This is kind of a low key, realistic one. Artem Zub from Ottawa. He's a right shot defenseman. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's kind of a rugged, really good defensive type of guy. Getting him because he's not getting paid a lot in terms of money on the salary cap. And then getting Anton Forsberg in the same deal. He's a goalie for Ottawa, 920 save percentage. Just kind of shore up 2 needs at once. That's what I'm looking for from the Leafs this year at the deadline. Number one, get a goalie in any deal, but try to make that a deal where you're combining it with something else. So if they were to deal with Chicago, go for Fleury and Brandon Hagel, the forward, or Connor Murphy on defense. Pretty much any deal, try to, as Ricky from the Trailer Park Boys would say, get 2 birds stoned at once.
I like that.
I do like that.
Nice.
Now Forsberg's been really good this year. I have him on my fantasy hockey team, so I know that firsthand. He's been very good, surprisingly, because I don't know what the hell is going on with Matt Murray over there.
I don't. He's actually bounced back recently, though. I think he's found his way over the Mendoza line above 900, but I don't know how high above that he is.
Right.
Mike, I'm gonna throw it to you too.
Okay.
If you had a dream, you're in the GM chair for the Flyers.
Trade everybody for Connor McDavid. That's no realistically like you trade Claude Giroux. Again, I talked about it earlier. If you could get Alex Newhook plus, that'd be my dream scenario. Doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. I love Alex Newhook. I liked him since he got drafted. But he's producing for them on a championship contender, so I don't see them moving him at all. And then if you want to go to the second tier of guys, I know he's had a really tough start to his career, but in Florida, Owen Tippett, I'd be interested in.
Okay.
He was kind of a high-profile guy a couple years ago. I think he went 10th overall. So I'd be interested in him, but I would want more back if I'm trading a guy like Drew. But you got to trade Drew at this point. Like you just have to. With the direction of this team, with the way that they should go, You got to trade him, and then hopefully you spike the lottery, get Shane Wright, and hopefully you spike the lottery again next year, get Bedard. Now we're talking.
Mike, what was your phrase? What did you come up with for the? What was the phrase you came out with for the trade? Or not the trade, but the tanking.
Was it tank for Wright or lose for Wright? I forget what I said.
Shite for right?
There you go. I like that.
What? Oh, I know it. Pain for Shane, maybe.
Pain for Shane's a good one.
We got to put that on a T-shirt.
Yeah, I think you guys should really focus on tanking next year. That would be my goal.
Yeah,
if you can get Bedard, he's looking like the next Connor McDavid. So that would be an absolute.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm hoping like the Habs do that free agency thing I was talking about, because I do not want him anywhere near the Leafs division.
Yeah. For sure, and I mean, talking about Shane Wright, I mean, as good as he's looked at times, for whatever reason, he's giving me Nolan Patrick vibes, and I don't like it. Could he be a good NHLer? Sure, but I'm just I don't know. Nolan Patrick's just got me all sorts of screwed up for the draft.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that, like the McDavid or Matthews kind of draft where it's like a clear cut number. Like I know he's the number one guy, but it's not like, okay, we got this guy. He's our franchise cornerstone right off.
But was Matthews really the clear cut number one? I feel like I heard a lot of Line A Matthews back and forth. I don't know if he was ever a clear cut number one. Maybe he was up in Toronto. I don't know.
I think that was a lot of like media hype trying to drum up interest in the draft. I don't know any Leaf fan that wanted them to pick Line A over Matthews. But even Line A, like he was really hype too. Like people thought he was going to be amazing too. And he is really, really good. But yeah, like Matthews, that like within 10 games, we knew like this guy's going to be a superstar.
And that was fresh off of the,
within one game, actually, four goals.
Right.
I was going to say,
yeah. And that was fresh off of the McDavid Eichel draft too. It was a year after, right? So
yeah, Marner went fourth that year too. Like there was just Kachuk was in that draft too. Like there was a 2-year span there where it was just, you wanted to pick in the top 5.
Yep.
Is there any irony in the fact that the savior for your Canadian hockey team came out of the desert in Arizona?
It's hilarious. I don't understand it, but I'll take it. And then a lot of Leaf fans, like myself included, with this whole Arizona 5,000 seat arena thing, we're like, can you please just move them out of Arizona and just eliminate the fear of him ever going home?
Okay, I'm gonna put you. You're in the commissioner's chair. You get to move Arizona. Oh, pick a city.
I want to say I feel like Quebec City would be a great place for them. It'd be like, for me personally, I'd love it too. Just get another team in Quebec, get like kind of a rivalry between them and the Habs. You know that arena, like they have a brand new arena there. They're probably going to fill it up. I know there are some other good cities. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but
as a Canadian, there was no chance you were going to say anything other than Quebec City.
Yeah,
I mean,
Hamilton
in the States. I mean, the obvious one is Houston because it's just one of the biggest cities in the country. I don't know if they're going to be a good hockey market necessarily, but just the fact that it's just so populated, I feel like Houston's kind of the obvious choice.
I don't know. Part of me wants to take them back to Hartford, just to bring back the Whalers. Just bring back the.
Those are sweet.
Yeah,
I think the key is. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So I was gonna say, the reason I would say Houston is because it's the easiest, where you don't have to realign divisions. They could stay in the Central. It just kind of makes sense that way.
Yeah, and I think the key with whenever you move a team somewhere in the South, you have to put that arena in the city. Like we've seen it. Florida Panthers, they were in Miami. I'm pretty sure they had really good attendance. You move them out to Sunrise in the suburbs, nobody goes. Like I think Phoenix, even when they were in the city, they weren't doing too badly attendance-wise. They put them in Scottsdale, nobody goes. So I think wherever they move that team, if they do, like keep the arena within, 10 kilometers or 10 miles, I would say, of the city center.
Right, and listen, we went through something similar to that when they were talking about building the baseball stadium in Philly. Like there were talks about putting it literally in the middle of Center City, like not knocking down a city block and just putting it. And I was
that'd be awful.
I
but I'm just trying to think of just traffic. I know how much of a mess it gets down there.
Mike, logistically, it would be awful. I think aesthetically, though, sticking a stadium in the middle of the city, I think would be cool. The fact that all of our stadiums are all centrally located, literally within like earshot of each other, definitely helps.
It's convenient. Yep.
It's definitely convenient on those days where like you can go to a Phillies game in the afternoon, and then you can go to a Sixers or Flyers game in the evening. It definitely makes the logistics easier. But no, very very. I love the insight into where you're thinking about where they could go. Well, gentlemen, we're gonna wrap up the night with your 3 stars. So, any player, any team, anything hockey related that you want to highlight?
Yeah, you go first. Go for it.
I got kind of like I could go with the obvious one and go with Austin Matthews, who has 7 goals in his last 4 games, but I'm going to go off the board. And speaking of the Coyotes, shout out to them winning 4 straight games. Like I did not think they would win 4 games all year with that roster, so to win 4 straight, I got to tip my cap to them.
And they are scoring a ton of goals. That was actually going to be one of the things that I mentioned is the Coyotes scoring a ton of goals, and what Phil Kessel did, or what they did for Phil Kessel, was awesome. Just playing 30 seconds to keep the iron streak alive, go home, go to the hospital, see your kid be born. That was kind of cool. But the thing that I kind of wanted to mention is the whole thing that Jaromir Jagr's doing over in Czech Republic. I don't know if anybody saw this. Was this yours, Don?
Yeah, this was one I want to talk about.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if anybody saw that, but so he's still playing. He's 50 years old. It's insane.
It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, so they moved his he moved his last regular season game of the team that he plays for to a 14th, I think it was an 18,000 seat arena. They managed to fill 14,000 seats. And all the proceeds of that game went to the refugees from Ukraine. And you can still, I don't know if anybody knows this, you can still buy like virtual tickets. Until Sunday, it's like less than $3 a ticket. So again, all the proceeds go to the refugees in Ukraine. It's just awesome stuff what he's doing. Still in the world. I mean, it's bigger than hockey, obviously.
They're north of 160 grand right now.
Yeah, the NHL donated 68 themselves. 68,000. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was the one main thing that I wanted to highlight. Like the fact that he's still playing at 50 is incredible.
Yeah, it is.
2, the fact that that the awareness is there to be able to globally impact the game is incredible. Put the game on that world platform is incredible. So Mike, I'm going to go to Plan B.
Okay.
Plan B is something that is related to our guest's favorite team. I love the outdoor hockey games. So the fact that the Leafs are playing the Sabres in the Heritage Classic and correct me, it's in Hamilton, correct? In Ontario. Yep. I just love the outdoor games. The Flyers played a great one in Tahoe a couple years ago, which was literally
that's been the best one I've seen. That was insane.
It just the outdoor games are just it's great because it feels like it allows hockey to get back to its roots.
Yeah, I always think it's cool. I used to it used to be a lot more special when it would be like a once in a lifetime kind of thing, and now it's kind of like it's gotten a bit watered down in a way, but it's just like when your team's in it, it's just such a cool thing to see them playing outside. That it never really gets old.
Yeah, I like the idea of the outdoor game. I wish the NHL would do a better job at promoting these games because, I mean, the Nashville, it was a Dallas game that they had a month or 2 ago. I don't think anybody knew about that game.
I literally didn't know about it till you said it.
Right. I think it was Dallas. It was Nashville, and I think it was Dallas, right?
Pretty sure it was
Dallas.
I believe
nobody
so.
knew about that one. If I had to imagine, a lot of people in the States probably don't know about the one Saturday. So the NHL just has to do a better job at promoting these things.
It really is just... It's a shame because it's such an easy platform for the league to be able to put it on the national stage, put your best play, put your teams with your stars, and be able to highlight like the coverage that they're getting especially in the States with the TV package that they have now, them having the ability to be able to put the league in the spotlight. But then there are things like this where they drop the ball, like where the average sports fan might be interested in that one game just because it's outside, might not even know that it's actually happening.
Yeah, it's I could go on a 10-hour rant about all the things that the NHL does wrong, especially when it comes to promoting their stars, because they seem to prefer, fourth liners and third pairing defensemen getting away with clutching and grabbing in the playoffs over letting skill ride. So another thing where they forget to market their stars is just another feather in their cap for me.
Real quick, I wanted to get into it. The Austin Matthews play in overtime against the Coyotes. I wanted to ask you about, because I probably have a hot take about it. I don't think it was anywhere near as blatant as people are making it out to be. Well, how do you think it was an outrageous miscall?
So this is the thing. Austin Matthews has drawn 6 penalties all year.
Okay.
Connor McDavid has drawn 36. Austin Matthews is on one of the lines with the highest possession numbers in the league. Phoenix is the second most penalized team in the league and had 0 penalties last night. It's been a constant theme. It's especially tough for Leaf fans because I'll admit it, we have a soft team, a team that doesn't take many penalties, but the refs, they love to game manage. They don't want to decide the game, so they try to make it 3 power plays to 3 penalty kills for each team every night kind of thing. So this one is just it's like another needle on the hay or whatever, another piece of hay on the stack. It's not whatever. Like I agree with you. I don't think it was like crazy egregious. It was clearly a penalty. Like he held his stick.
He did.
But
my thing is, I mean, from such a young age, you're just told move your feet. He stops moving his feet and tries to draw the penalty. If he just tries to fight through, moves his feet, keeps his head down, and goes and gets held, they call that 10 times out of 10. So I think if he just moved his feet a little,
did you see Hyman play the other night against Washington?
That was bad.
I don't know
that was bad. Okay, all right. They call it refs, 8 times out of 10.
Decide the game. The problem for me is refs don't want to decide the game with a penalty, but in doing so, they decide the game because they don't want to call a penalty on Matthews and they give a clear 2-on-1. It's just, I actually tweeted from the Buds All Day account today that I'm going to try to focus less on reffing because it's never going to change.
Never.
And we all know the way it is. So is it it is the NHL's fault, but shouldn't it be kind of the Leafs' fault too for not building a team that takes advantage of it? Because it's been that way since I was a kid. So you kind of have to adjust. They're not like you. The more dirty players you have, the more you're going to benefit. To me.
Yep. The Capitals have benefited. The Blues have benefited. The Islanders benefit. I mean,
Bruins.
the teams. Bruins, right? Yeah. They build their teams to play like that in the playoffs because you get away with it then. So,
gentlemen, this was awesome, man. What a great conversation.
That was great, guys. Thanks a lot for having me.
Do me a favor before we close it out. Give everybody your details. Tell them where they can find all your stuff.
Yeah, so I am. I tweet all hockey takes from @BudsAllDayCast on Twitter. It's obviously it skews very Leafs, but I do talk about the NHL as a whole. We are also the Buds All Day podcast on Spotify. You can find us anywhere there. So it's gonna if you're not interested in the Leafs, you probably won't like it. I'm not gonna lie, but if you do like little Leaf content, then check us out.
I'll definitely listen. I'm sure I'll like it because I mean I'm sure as a Leaf fan, you're a big Steve Dangle guy. I listen to his podcast and it's entertaining, a lot of Leaf stuff, but it's it's a lot of NHL stuff too. So it's enjoyable.
Yeah, there's a lot of Leaf podcasters out there. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's the hockey capital, so I get it.
Mike, give everybody your details too, because you're a guest, but not a guest, kind of.
Yeah, I've been on before, so I'm sure your people know me. But yeah, at Fired Up Podcast on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I mean we go live every Monday nights, Philly sports. So that's pretty much it right now. On Twitter, we are doing our most beloved Philly athlete of all time. That's just concluded the second round. I was gonna pull it up real quick, but I can't really look at it right now. All I know is that Bernie Perrant almost lost to Wayne Simmons, and I almost rioted down the
Wayne train.
I almost went in a full blown riot mode because Bernie Perrant's one of the most beloved people in this city's history and existence. So the fact that he almost lost to Wayne Simmons, I almost lost my mind. Check that out on Twitter because it's been a lot of fun.
I bet Ben Simmons will finish very highly.
He wasn't on it. I'll tell you. I'll tell you that. He was not on it.
Oh God! All right, gentlemen, it's been real. Listen, we are the Drunk on Ice podcast. We're on the Drunk on Broad channel. We're part of the Belly Up Podcast Network. You can find all of our stuff on any of your streaming platforms. Like, subscribe, all that crazy fun stuff.
And listen, I didn't get around to my Johnny Gaudreau story. I'll tell that next time I'm on, all right?
Oh,
How's that for a tease?
there you go. That's I believe, Mike, in the industry, I believe they call that a cliffhanger.
There you go.
All right, gentlemen, have a good night, and we'll talk to you later.
See you later.
All right.